Hello, beautiful people. Mic check, mic check. How y'all doing? Good to see y'all. It's hot as hell here. It is 80 degrees, no AC. But we are here. We are sat. We are ready. I hope you are doing well. Hit the like button if you haven't already. It's a great way to support the channel. Shout out to the best mod squad on the internet. Shout out to all the subscribers. Join us. Help us get to 20,000. You can make a huge dent. Huge during this live. Hit the subscribe button. Shout out to all the members on Patreon and YouTube. Well, we're here. Drake has filed his response to UMG's motion to dismiss. And last we gathered to talk about this case. We discussed then an amicus brief that had been filed by some rap experts. Yeah, Nerd Squad Avengers pulled up. That had been accepted by the court as it may be relevant to the matters that need to be decided. And prior to that, of course, was the motion to dismiss itself. Oh, that's me talking. Trying to get something pinned in the chat here real quick. So, in hold on, I think I closed the docket. Damn it. Jesus. Why I'm suddenly getting a bunch of messages from people. I would have been here faster, but I was on the phone with my son who needed to tell me a story about his weekend trip, which was a roller coaster to hear about. So it took me a couple extra minutes because priorities. And at any rate, so we know that we will be looking at Drake's response to UMG's revised motion to dismiss. He's also going to be responding in this motion to dismiss per a judge's order to something else that UMG filed with their original motion to dismiss and their amended motion to dismiss, which is what is known as a request for judicial notice. And so it's a little bit different than just like, here's some exhibits to attach to our motion. It's these are specific things that we want the court to look at in terms of the context of the events that we're talking about. So they include some news coverage of the beef. They also include the Protect Black Art petition that Drake signed, less than 3 years ago. They have the lyrics for Back to Back, Duppy Freestyle, First Person Shooter, Like That Push-Ups, Tailor-Made Freestyle, Euphoria 616 in LA, Family Matters, Meet the Grams, Drake's Fraudulent, The Heart Part 6, are some of the other things. And apparently Drake took issue with those things being submitted to the court. And the court said, well, Say what you gotta say when you respond to the motion to dismiss about these things. So, that's what we can expect. Hit the like button, share the live. Shout out also to everybody who has purchased a copy of Bloodlines and Battle Rhymes. If you had originally signed up to receive email alerts, you just got an email that signed hard covers are available for sale in the US. If you are a member and you still want a signed hardcover, you have a special price. So if you're a member on Patreon, go to Patreon and use that link. If you're a member on YouTube, go to the post tab. I posted today a link for you to be able to get the book at a discounted price. The discount is already built in. If you use the main link, then you're paying full price. There will be no partial discounts. There is no back end, discount code for me to be able to apply to the purchase. So if you still want a signed hardcover, and you are a member, go to Patreon, go to YouTube. If you're not a member, link is in the description. If you don't want a signed copy and you just want to get the book, paperback or hardcover, links are in the description. Okay, Lego. Before I get started here, I just want to go off topic real quick, okay? Um, Thank you so much. Um, on the post tab earlier today, I posted about some orders that came down in the Barry White Trust versus Rodney O and Joe Cooley. So last week, the judge ordered all the parties, the trust, Rodney O, and Joe Cooley, to let her know by last Friday if they wanted a trial by jury. And if nobody submitted a notice to her that they wanted a trial by jury, then the trial would be by bench, by the judge. Super advantageous to the trust to have a trial by bench. Super advantageous to Rodney O and Joe Cooley to have a trial by jury. I talked about this yesterday when I said I was sitting at the computer at deadline for a couple different dockets, refreshing because I had a feeling people were going to miss deadlines. This was one of them. They did not file by deadline. And this morning, in a series of rulings, one of the rulings that the judge put out was the trial will be by a bench, judge trial. Well, as it turns out, Rodney O did submit a request for a jury trial. The deadline was the 23rd, and he submitted it on the 25th. It popped up on the docket today after the judge's order that it will be a trial by bench. And I just have to say rhetorically, do these people think that judges' orders are suggestions? They're not suggestions. Somebody needs to tell this man to knock it off because this is absurd at this point. Okay? All right. Thank you. I just had to get that off my chest. All right, y'all, here we go. Here we go. Plaintiff Aubrey Drake Graham respectfully submits this opposition to UMG Recording Inc.'s motion to dismiss plaintiff's amended complaint. The request for judicial notice. That's what I was just telling you about, all the things that they had submitted, various lyrics, articles, a couple cases, etc. So this is opposition to the amended motion to dismiss and the request for judicial notice. The primary question raised by UMG's motion to dismiss is whether Drake's amended complaint plausibly alleges that a reasonable listener could have concluded that Not Like Us and its accompanying cover art and music video were conveying facts about Drake. The AC, so the AC is the amended complaint. Okay, remember Drake amended his lawsuit? That's what the amended complaint is. Heretofore known as the AC. The AC does not just allege that reasonable listeners could have reached that conclusion. It plausibly alleges that millions in fact did so. As the AC alleges, the unmistakable message conveyed by the recording, image, and video is the indisputably false allegations that Drake is a certified pedophile. The recording calls for violence against Drake, and the image offers aspiring assailants a map of where to strike. Guys, 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 help. Everybody knows where the fuck he lives. Just one more time. The recording calls for violence against Drake, and the image offers aspiring assailants a map of where to strike. An overhead photograph of Drake's actual Toronto home plastered with icons known to identify the location of child sex offenders. I mean, to be fair, I think it's sex offenders, period, but technicalities. UMG's theory is that all of this was hyperbole. If you're new, don't fuck up in the chat. That's all I gotta say, because they'll eat you alive, okay? It's a bowl of hyper. Just deal with it. Big as the what? Hyperbole. Yes. UMG's theory is that all of this was hyperbole, a harmless joke that no reasonable person would take seriously because it was part of a rap battle. Rap battle. But UMG's theory collides with the reality that the recording's false allegations of pedophilia, broadcast to the entire world via the most powerful music company, have proven to be toxic and indelible. In other words, UMG's just joking narrative runs headfirst into the concrete facts alleged in the AC. Accepted as true as they must be here, the AC's allegations establish that Not Like Us was not widely understood to be mere hyperbole. Days after UMG published the recording and image, Drake's home was attacked and his security guard was nearly murdered. In the weeks that followed, countless listeners showed that they believed the allegations to be true, as confirmed by the commentators and press that covered the song. Nor can UMG hide behind its hyperbole mantra, given its decision long after the rap battle had ended and Drake had informed UMG of the substantial harm the recording had caused, to transform false accusations of pedophilia into a de facto national anthem by using its massive resources to land the recording as the centerpiece of the Super Bowl, the Grammys, and more. He's really upset. He said, why do they do this? Why do they do this? Why do they do this? Drake's lawyers just said that Not Like Us is the de facto national anthem. Why do they do this? He's really upset. He's really upset. Okay. All right. Okay. Unable to address the actual facts Drake has alleged, UMG instead asked this court to ignore them as unreliable and replace them with UMG's own disputed allegations offered through a 17 exhibit RJN request for judicial notice. Through these cherry-picked exhibits, which include news articles, podcast transcripts, and lyrics dating back years, UMG paints a self-serving picture of the context in which the recording was initially published, one that is irreconcilable with the context pleaded in the AC. Yeah, we agree there. We agree there. I love how they say context. UMG is trying to provide context, which doesn't mesh with the context that's in our lawsuit. No shit. You mean reality? You mean reality. It was a rap beef. Your client fucking started it. They put rap beef in quotations. Unsurprisingly, courts do not permit these kind of tactics at the motion to dismiss stage. But even if the court were to accept UMG's disputed construction of the context, UMG didn't construct that context, nigga. That's what happened. Okay. All right. Okay. There is no indication that the average listener watching the Super Bowl or browsing top hits on Spotify would have any knowledge of the nuances of a multi-year rap battle, let alone the subjective interpretation spun by UMG's lawyers here. Even if this court were inclined to agree with UMG's improper factual narrative, the motion to dismiss would still fail because the amended complaint pleads facts shown that the defamatory statements imply that they are based upon undisclosed facts, rendering them mixed opinion at most. In response, UMG argues, based again on extrinsic and disputed evidence, that listeners understood the recording to be referring merely to rumors concerning Drake's relationship with minors, which, like UMG's other arguments, cannot be squared with the amended complaint's actual allegations, including that listeners understood the recording to be based upon actual and undisclosed information. Not only is this argument procedurally improper, not only is this argument procedurally improper and unsupported by UMG's own exhibits, it also disproves UMG's main argument. Any listeners who were sufficiently clued in to understand that the recording was actually referencing prior questions raised about Drake's relationships with minors surely would have understood the lyrics as factual, not just hyperbolic name calling. The letters AC are really fucking me up because all I can see in my head is Assassin's Creed. The amended complaint also properly alleges a claim under Section 349 of the New York General Business Law. The AC pleads how UMG secretly paid, directly or indirectly, streaming and radio platforms and others to boost the recording. UMG's failure to disclose these acts and practices deceived consumers of music in New York and harmed Drake, both as an artist and consumer of music, because the botting and artificial streams that UMG funded diluted and diminished Drake's royalties. UMG's arguments mostly seek to impose pleading requirements that do not exist, such as a requirement to plead actual knowledge or that the deceptive acts and practices were the but-for cause of the recording success. As for Drake's harassment claim, New York courts have long recognized that individuals may sue under Section 240.26 of the Penal Code. Drake sufficiently pleads that UMG intended to harass, annoy, or alarm Drake through its year-long publication and promotion of the defamatory material, especially after UMG knew about the violence and harm Drake was already experiencing. For all of these reasons, the motion to dismiss should be denied. Footnote: the amicus brief raises interesting academic issues, but particularly at the pleading stage, offers no guidance for this court. No authority supports the proposition that rap music can never defame a subject of that music, regardless of the actual words and imagery used in the music, the specific context of and around the song, or evidence of how listeners actually understood it. And in any event, this motion to dismiss is not the appropriate vehicle by which to announce such a sweeping legal policy. God, this man is so exhausting. The recording, first published by UMG on May 4, 2024, accuses Drake of being a criminal pedophile. The recording identifies Drake by name and states that, based on undisclosed facts and sources, Drake has a predilection for underage women. Say, Drake, I hear you like him young. The next line threatens that Drake should be careful not to go to prison where child predators are targeted. You better not ever go to cell block 1. The recording says that women who fall in love with Drake should be careful to hide their little sister from Drake. The recording accuses Drake of being a convicted pedophile. Certified lover boy, certified pedophiles. In a play on the dual meaning of the word minor, the recording says that Drake is trying to strike a chord and is probably a minor. Later, the recording refers to Drake as a predator. Having identified Drake as a pedophile, the recording repeatedly calls for violence against Drake. The image and video unmistakably reinforce the defamatory allegations in the recording. The image features a satellite view of Drake's Toronto home with location information covered in 13 icons denoting convicted sex offenders. During the video, the lyrics "Trying to Strike a Chord and It's Probably A Minor" play while Kendrick Lamar is playing hopscotch, a game for children. Later, during the lyrics stating that a predator moves in flocks, the video shows large shipping containers commonly associated with sex trafficking. The portions of the recording, video, and image accusing Drake of being a pedophile and or reinforcing that accusations are referred to herein as the defamatory statements. Notwithstanding that the defamatory statements were part of a rap battle, wow, they finally acknowledged it. Notwithstanding that the defamatory statements were part of a rap battle, millions of listeners understood them as statements of fact. This included social media users, NPR guests, and the trade press. Others understood the defamatory statements were based on undisclosed facts, and many understood that the image conveyed Drake as a sex offender. All the while, UMG took unprecedented steps to ensure the broadcast possible reach. All the while, UMG took unprecedented steps to ensure the broadest possible reach of the recording, such as whitelisting the recording to ensure content creators would republish it. Foreseeably, violence against Drake ensued. Drake publicly denied the allegations and later explained in detail to UMG how the false defamatory statements were causing him severe harm. In response to that plea from its own artist, UMG doubled down on its promotional activities and effectively dared Drake to initiate legal action. UMG campaigned to secure Grammy Awards for the defamatory material. Then, after promoting Kendrick Lamar as the headliner at the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show, UMG introduced the recording to a new audience of more than 133.5 million people. The amended complaint further alleges that UMG secretly promoted the recording by paying, directly or indirectly, various platforms to promote, prioritize, and play the recording. This included UMG's pay-for-play scheme to boost the recording on the radio, including in New York. UMG provided financial incentives to Spotify in exchange for Spotify affirmatively recommending the recording to users who searched for unrelated songs and artists. UMG paid or caused payments to be made to third parties to use bots to artificially inflate the spread of the recording on Spotify, which also took place in part in New York. A former stream farmer, God, they're back on this shit, posted a video on X about the streaming bot that UMG and Kendrick Lamar used to boost Not Like Us. UMG failed to disclose any of these tactics and then touted the recording streaming and radio success. To survive a motion to dismiss under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, a complaint must contain sufficient factual matter accepted as true to state a claim to relief that is plausible on its face. On a motion to dismiss, the court draws all reasonable inference in the plaintiff's favor and accepts as true all non-conclusory allegations of fact. Because a Rule 12 motion challenges the complaint as presented by the plaintiff, taking no account of its basis in evidence, a court adjudicating such a motion may review only a narrow universe of materials. Facts stated on the face of the complaint, documents appended to the complaint or incorporated in the complaint by reference, and matters of which judicial notice may be taken. A defamation plaintiff must plead defamatory statement of fact that is false, published to a third party, of and concerning the plaintiff, made with the applicable level of fault on the part of the speaker, either causing special harm or constituting defamation per se, and not protected by privilege. A public figure plaintiff must also plead actual malice. The motion to dismiss does not seriously dispute the sufficiency of the amended complaint as pleaded. Instead, it challenges only two elements: defamatory statement of fact and actual malice, based almost entirely upon materials extraneous to that amended complaint, if relevant at all, should be introduced and tested through the adversarial process during discovery. The amended complaint adequately alleges that the defamatory statements are statements of fact. In determining whether allegedly defamatory material is fact or non-actionable opinion, the dispositive inquiry is whether a reasonable listener could have concluded that the statements were conveying facts about the plaintiff. Thus, while the question of whether the words could express the alleged defamatory meaning must be resolved by the court in the first instance, the actual meaning of those words must ultimately be determined at trial. Courts in this circuit analyze the Steinheiber factors to help distinguish between fact and opinion. Those factors are: number one, whether the specific language in issue has a precise meaning which is readily understood. It does. Number two, whether the statements are capable of being proven true or false. They potentially could be. Three, whether either the full context of the communication in which the statement appears or the broader social context and surrounding circumstances are such as to signal readers or listeners that what is being read or heard is likely to be opinion, not fact. Even a cursory review of the allegations in the amended complaint leaves no doubt that reasonable listeners could have concluded that the defamatory statements asserted factual allegations about Drake. Indeed, unlike UMG's cases here, the amended complaint presents actual evidence that listeners, as well as commentators in the rap industry and the press, understood the defamatory statements as an attempt to convey a precise factual message, pedophilia, about Drake. How we doing, chat? Even a cursory review of the allegations in the amended complaint leaves no doubt that a reasonable listener could have concluded that the defamatory statements asserted factual allegations about Drake. At the pleading stage, these allegations are more than sufficient. Case law stuff. The motion to dismiss also fails to grapple with the reality that the recording, image, and video all work together to reinforce the unmistakable and false factual message that Drake is a pedophile. Accusations of sexual abuse are especially dangerous because modern listeners are so susceptible to believing them. This is presumably why UMG and its chairman reacted so swiftly, including with threats of legal action when faced with similar accusations. Here, and unlike nearly every example UMG cites, including other songs within the battle, the recording is myopically focused on ensuring that listeners take one message away from the song: Drake is a pedophile. For example, the line, certified lover boy, certified pedophiles, which is so self-evidently defamatory that the corporations responsible for the Super Bowl halftime show censored it, communicates that Drake has been found to be a pedophile, an assertion that UMG tacitly concedes Drake has adequately alleged at the pleading stage to be false. The same can be said for all the defamatory statements that, read in context, raise the same allegations, such as, you better not ever go to cell block 1, say Drake, I hear you like I'm young, trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor, and predators move in flocks. And the amended complaint pleads in detail how the associated image and video collectively reinforce the message. Rather than challenging the sufficiency of what the AC actually alleges, UMG's opinion argument attacks an imagined version of a complaint that Drake did not file and relies almost exclusively upon inappropriate uses of extraneous materials. First, UMG tries to brush aside the public commentary expressing belief in the defamatory statements, claiming that the subjective opinions of a handful of people do not factor in to the court's objective assessment of what a reasonable person could have understood the recording to mean. But the amended complaint plausibly alleges that millions, not a handful of people, understood the lyrics as factual. And at this stage, the court must make all reasonable inferences in Drake's favor, not UMG's. In any event, UMG cites no authority suggesting the court cannot consider, at the pleading stage, real life examples of listeners believing the truth of the defamatory statements in evaluating whether the statements could have been interpreted as fact. As illustrated above, courts have done exactly that. UMG likewise deems the public commentary cited in the amended complaint unreliable because it comes from anonymous users and contains grammatical errors, slang, and emojis. But the AC does not rely solely on anonymous social media users. Instead, it cites numerous public statements expressing belief in the allegations from the press, commentators, and podcasts. UMG's own extraneous exhibits are in accord. Many of the amended complaints cited social media comments were not anonymous, and using slang and emojis in online posts about pop culture is hardly unusual. Regardless, UMG again offers no authority for the proposition that the court should discredit the AC's cited online comments in this context, and case law is to the contrary. Second, UMG argues that the tone of the defamatory material conveys hyperbole and opinion, not facts. That subjective assessment is belied by the countless listeners who think otherwise. But in any event, there is nothing hyperbolic about using mutually reinforcing lyrics, images, and video to brand someone as a certified pedophile. Moreover, the fact that the allegations of pedophilia can be understood to express anger or vitriol does not mean that no reasonable listener interprets those same allegations as factual. To the contrary, the amended complaint alleges that allegations of pedophilia tap into a cultural phenomenon whereby listeners are primed simultaneously to believe and be enraged by such allegations. The defamatory material is also unlike the types of communications courts have dismissed as non actionable opinion. None of UMG's cases involve allegations of pedophilia, and none involve specific factual allegations demonstrating the public's belief in the truth of the allegations. UMG relied heavily on the Rappaport summary judgment decision to support its flawed tone argument, but separate from the fact that Rappaport does not justify dismissal at the pleadings stage, the case is readily distinguishable. There, the statements that the court found to be obviously hyperbolic included the plaintiff was a 10-gallon drum of curdled milk, a walking blob of jizz, and a puddle of pudding, and that he looks like a chemo yurtle the turtle. But being repeatedly accused of pedophilia to billions of people is obviously different from being compared to a Dr. Seuss character or spoiled dairy. The former is a precise factual allegation that people immediately understand. The latter is literal name calling. I can't believe I'm actually reading this shit. It's been 38 minutes. We got less than 90 minutes to go in the super chat goal. If we make it, I'll make an announcement that was previously redacted. I just need to read that one more time because I'm never going to read anything like it again. So help me God. So help me God. UMG relies heavily on the Rappaport summary judgment decision to support its flawed tone argument, but separate from the fact that Rappaport does not justify dismissal at the pleading stage, the case is readily distinguishable. There, the statements that the court found to be obviously hyperbolic included the plaintiff was a 10-gallon drum of curdled milk, a walking blob of jizz, and a puddle of pudding, and that he looks like a chemo yurtle the turtle. But being repeatedly accused of pedophilia to billions of people is obviously different from being compared to a Dr. Seuss character or spoiled dairy. The former is a precise factual allegation that people immediately understand. The latter is literal name calling. My soul is screaming right now. It's deep, it's ancestral, it's generational, like screaming, howling. The same argument holds with respect to the images in Rappaport. The Rappaport court determined that certain photos, including the cartoon of a life-size cracker walking down the sidewalk accompanied by the terms, "You're the cracker honky," were obviously doctored and therefore underscored the non-factual nature of the piece. The court found the same for a cartoon in which the plaintiff was diagnosed with having ding-dongs for brains and had a herpes that worked as his manager. If you're wondering what the fuck Rappaport is, it's Michael Rappaport v. Barstool. It's a defamation case that Michael Rappaport lost, appealed, and lost. And there's an image from it. The fucking cracker. And Drake's argument is one of these is obviously a statement of fact, and the other one is obviously a joke. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Unlike an anthropomorphized cracker sauntering down the street, the image that appears alongside the recording is an authentic aerial photograph of Drake's Toronto home. And the sex offender images attached to the home are likewise realistic reproductions of images commonly understood to signify the homes of registered sex offenders, which is why the average observer understood the image as conveying the false message that Drake is a sex offender. UMG's insistence that the image is doctored in the sense that it superimposes sex offender symbols on Drake's actual home only confesses the falsity of the message conveyed, and UMG has cited nothing, particularly at the pleadings stage, to justify its subjective view that no reasonable observer would have interpreted the image's inescapable message as factual. Third, UMG asserts with no support from the pleadings that a rap diss track is not a forum reasonable people expect to convey rigorous factual content. Whatever weight UMG's argument might receive following cross-examination of whatever witness might offer it at trial, it should receive none here. The amended complaint alleges that UMG's standard exclusive recording contract includes a provision which permits UMG to eliminate material which, in UMG's judgment, constitutes defamation or libel. The necessary inference from that fact, which must be drawn in Drake's favor, is that UMG itself understands that lyrics and other content within the music it publishes can defame. Moreover, UMG's context argument relies almost entirely on cherry-picked extrinsic evidence, such as lyrics and articles not referenced in the amended complaint, that UMG repackages and weaves into its own subjective narrative. But UMG offers no authority for substituting well-pleaded allegations with extraneous evidence on a motion to dismiss. Specifically, the court should decline to take judicial notice of UMG's exhibits A through I and L through N. A. Protect Black Art petition. B. NPR. C. New York Times. D. Back to back. E. Duppy freestyle. F. First person shooter. G. Like that. H. Push ups. I. Tailor made freestyle. And L through N. 616 in LA. Family Matters. Meet the Grams. Or at the very least, consider only the existence of those exhibits and decline to consider UMG's factual inferences based on the context of those exhibits. UMG's alternative would require the court to wade through entire bodies of literature, effectively fashioning its own expert testimony, addressing the appropriate context for understanding the lyrics of not just Drake and Kendrick Lamar, but of other artists, rap tracks, and articles omitted from UMG's self-serving collection. None of this is remotely appropriate given the court's task to determine whether the amended complaint states a claim upon which relief may be granted. To the extent the court assesses context at this stage, UMG has done nothing to justify its assertion that the relevant context for all reasonable listeners would be its hand selected examples from what is described as a years long rap battle involving multiple tracks from Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Nowhere does UMG explain why the average or reasonable listener would not only understand all of these nuances of this saga, but also understand it in the same way that UMG's lawyers do. As alleged, nigga, we get it. We fucking get it. We're here. We fucking get it. It was a rap battle. That is the context. The shit went on for years. We've heard those songs. I don't like the reverse Uno card of we, Drake's lawyers, will be damned if you are going to dismiss outright the examples of people on the internet and what they understood to be true. You're not going to do that to us, but we dismiss outright anybody who actually understood this years long battle. As a reasonable average listener, we dismiss that out of hand. We dismiss anybody who understood Drake started this shit. We dismiss anybody who understood the implications of first person shooter back to back, Duppy freestyle. We dismiss anybody that understands the contradiction of Drake signing a fucking petition saying lyrics shouldn't be used in court and then suing over Not Like Us. So you want to make sure your subset of people get in, but at the same time outright dismiss a huge subset of people who actually understand the real fucking context of it, not UMG's argument of context, but we like lived it. Okay, I'm back. As alleged, the recording has been played billions of times to people globally, including to audiences and viewers of the Super Bowl and Democratic National Convention. Thus, as alleged in the amended complaint, the relevant, reasonable listener cannot be artificially limited to devoted fans of Kendrick Lamar's music, or those who carefully followed each step of the battle. UMG utterly ignores the amended complaint's well-pleaded allegations that UMG took steps to ensure that the defamatory material became ubiquitous in the general population, while not doing so for any of the other songs in the rap beef. Thus, by its own actions, UMG ensured that the relevant audience for the recording would be different and much more expansive than the traditional audience for a typical rap track. Furthermore, UMG's context argument ignores that most of the amended complaint's allegations of actionable defamation occurred after, according to UMG, the rap battle ended. UMG published and promoted the defamatory material long after it knew how the public was consuming and reacting to that material, which makes this case unlike heated or one-time statements made during a union labor dispute, a public meeting, or by shock talk hosts during a show. UMG's repeated conduct, including licensing deals, social media posts, and agreements to stream and play the recording, are more like the pre-planned and pre-scheduled statements made during a sophisticated and coordinated international campaign, which courts have found to be actionable. Courts have rejected context arguments in similar circumstances. In Phytosa, the court found actionable a tweet by one YouTube personality directed at another, which stated, Deaf Noodles has allegedly groomed girls from age 12 to 15, even though it was made during a war of words between two internet personalities. In Delgado v. Sonnen, the court held that statements that plaintiff was a stalker made during an intentionally comedic podcast published to the internet were actionable. The court explained that the context relevant to its analysis did not include all previous episodes of the podcast or even the entire podcast episode, but rather the specific podcast segment during which the at issue statements were made. Even assuming the entire podcast series constituted the relevant context, the statements would still be actionable because, the court reasoned, the defendant could not expect to be protected solely because it is an internet publication with a foolhardy reputation that was known for loose, irreverent, juvenile, and crass behavior. Dismissal is likewise unwarranted because a statement of opinion is actionable so long as it implies that it is based upon fact which justify the opinion but are unknown to those reading or hearing it. Here, the defamatory material and pleaded context imply that the allegations of pedophilia against Drake in the defamatory statements have a factual basis that is not disclosed in the recording itself. In the recording, Kendrick Lamar says that the allegations are based on undisclosed information. Stay, Drake, I hear you like them young. And rabbit hole is still deep. I can go further, I promise. The AC alleges concrete examples of listeners who understood the recording in these precise terms, notwithstanding UMG's claim that the statements are too vague or sound in hyperbole. UMG suggests that the defamatory statements were not mixed opinion because Drake previously goaded Lamar. However, this argument depends entirely on UMG's self-serving and disputed interpretation of the meaning of one of Drake's songs that is not referenced in the amended complaint and is therefore improper at the pleading stage. Even if this court were inclined to consider this evidence without the vital witness testimony that would inform it at trial, as a legal matter, consent for defamation requires far more than a plaintiff expressing an expectation that another party will make a defamatory statement or even encourage a defendant to do what they had to do. And of course, none of this would erase. So what they're doing there is they're going after Drake invited Kendrick Lamar to talk about certain things. That's what they're addressing right there. They're saying that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. It shouldn't matter that Drake invited him to talk about the young girl's angle. We didn't bring that up. If they want to bring it up, they bring that up at trial to argue that this wasn't defamation because in context, blah, 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 blah. But we didn't bring that up and you shouldn't consider it. It's not relevant. And of course, none of this would erase UMG's liability for continuing its relentless promotional campaign after Drake explained to UMG the harm he was suffering and made his retraction demand. That was August 1 last year when he formally demanded that they retract the song and the video. In sum, there are no allegations that Drake consented to or invited UMG to publish defamatory statements about him to millions of people over the course of a year. Oh, he's a tricky fucker. He's a tricky fucker. There are no allegations that Drake consented to or invited UMG to publish defamatory statements about him. I invited Kendrick to say something. I didn't invite UMG to publish it. Yeah. He's splitting a hair. He is splitting a hair. Splitting a hair. And this is why I keep pointing out to you all the difference between the reality that we all lived and experienced and witnessed and the narrative control of the court record does not have to reflect reality. They are actually making sound legal arguments based on case law of doesn't matter that Drake made that invitation to Kendrick. Yes. Mhm. Yes, Tashana. He invited Kendrick to say something, but not UMG to publish it? Yes. Y'all go ahead, get them likes up. Get them subscriptions up too. Blow my mind. Blow my mind when I look back at the numbers. Get them likes up. Get them subs up. I see a lot of but, but, but. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm not gonna argue with you. You're not wrong. Okay? All of the but, what about, how about, da 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 da. You're right. You're right. In the real world where we live, where we all experience this thing, you are right. In a court of law, it may be irrelevant. They've been holding this hand up their sleeve. They knew they were going to do this. They knew from the beginning that they were going to do this. All of our incredulity about there's no context. Drake's lawsuit has no context of what happened. It begins and ends with there's a mention of Euphoria and then it just skips right to Not Like Us. All of that writing that they did leads us to this moment right here. This is chess lawyering. They've been holding this and waiting for UMG to do exactly what it did in its motion to dismiss and coming with its strongest, and these are really strong. These are really strong rebuttal arguments. They are picking apart UMG's motion to dismiss. I know it's a lot of legal shit, so you'll just have to trust me. They're picking this shit apart, meticulously picking it apart. And they've had it planned the whole time. They are just trying to accomplish not getting this case dismissed on any of the pleadings: defamation, second-degree harassment, and payola. They're picking it apart. Sharita Hall, the end game is destroy hip-hop. He's gonna try and burn the whole damn thing down. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants the insurance claim on the burnt-up building. He doesn't care what's in it. It's a money grab. Eric V. So, countersuit? If this case is not dismissed in whole, I do believe that they will countersue Drake. I've said that from jump. Yeah, if they can't get rid of this, I do believe that they will sue Drake. I'm sure they've got a laundry list of things they could sue him for. And yeah, I believe they will countersue him. But that's crazy. Even if this court were inclined to consider this evidence without the vital witness testimony that would inform it at trial as a legal matter, consent for defamation requires far more than a plaintiff expressing an expectation that another party will make a defamatory statement or even encouraging a defendant to do what they had to do. This is funny though, because man, the splicing, the hair splitting and splicing that they are doing in those sentences right there. Because in the one instance, they're addressing the action of Kendrick Lamar, and then in the very next instance, they're addressing the actions of UMG. And I'm sure UMG is going to pick up on that and they'll address it, because UMG gets the last word on motion to dismiss. They have to respond to this document by June 11th. And then all the parties go into court on June 30th and argue their respective arguments for motion to dismiss before the judge. So UMG gets one more opportunity and the final written opportunity to respond to this. And they will do that on the 11th. And we know that because they've already told the judge that they're going to do that. And of course, none of this would erase UMG's liability for continuing its relentless promotion campaign after Drake explained to UMG the harm he was suffering and made his retraction demand. In sum, there are no allegations that Drake consented to or invited UMG to publish defamatory statements about him to millions of people over the course of a year. Finally, UMG argues that the defamatory statements are not actionable because facts and circumstances concerning Drake's relationship with minors have been widely reported, and therefore the defamatory statements related to controversies that are widely known. This argument says more about UMG than it does about any legal issue in this case. For starters, as alleged in the amended complaint, UMG does not truly believe that there were serious questions concerning Drake's relationship with minors predating its publication of the recording. Because if it did, UMG surely would have discontinued promoting Drake as one of its most prominent artists. Even taking UMG at its word, its cited exhibits do not come close to demonstrating that Drake was widely reported or reported at all as having engaged in conduct that would make him a pedophile or a registered sex offender. Namely, UMG cites no reporting, let alone widespread reporting, that Drake engaged in sexual relations with minors, such that any reasonable listener would have understood the defamatory statements to be based upon those non-existent reports. If anything, UMG's exhibits reinforce that commentators understood the recording as making allegations against Drake, not merely repeating prior rumors. UMG addresses actual malice in a single paragraph that merely repackages its opinion and hyperbole arguments. Its argument is meritless. The actual malice standard requires that the plaintiff show the defendant made the statements at issue with knowledge that the statements were false or with reckless disregard as to their falsity. At the pleadings, malice must be alleged plausibly in accordance with Rule 8. Therefore, plaintiff must plead plausibly grounds to infer actual malice by alleging enough facts to raise a reasonable expectation that discovery will reveal evidence of actual malice. The motion to dismiss does not dispute that the actual malice, The motion to dismiss does not dispute that the amended complaint pleads actual malice under these standards. UMG does not contest that it knew the allegations were false, and to this day, UMG does not claim that any of the allegations are true. Okay. UMG had a financial interest in knowing Drake's liabilities, including charges or convictions, and UMG would have never contracted with Drake had it believed that any of the defamatory material was true in any respect. The amended complaint further pleads actual malice based on the different points in time when UMG published and continued to publish the defamatory statements, including after Drake publicly denied the allegations one day after the initial publication, after Drake's security guard was shot 3 days after the initial publication, after listeners, music publications, and industry podcasts confirmed the public's understanding of the factual nature of the allegations, and after Drake issued a formal retraction demand detailing the harm caused by the recording's continuous publication 3 months after the initial publication. UMG argues that plaintiff must identify specific individuals at UMG that acted with actual malice. UMG cites no Second Circuit authority for this proposition. It relies on Hughes' summary judgment holdings and a post-trial holding. The Second Circuit in okay. In any event, the amended complaint adequately pleads plausible grounds to infer the requisite mental state of each of Lucian Grange, John Janik, Monty Littman, and Avery Littman. The amended complaint pleads that Sir Grange and Mr. Janik were involved in the initial publication of the recording and image, despite knowing the allegations were unsupported by any evidence and understanding their inherent improbability. The amended complaint further pleads that Sir Grange, Mr. Janik, Monty Littman, and Avery Littman played a key role in the initial publication of the video, either in directing or approving the publication and or failing to prevent its publication. Knowing that Drake's Toronto home was attacked, knowing that the allegations were unsupported by any evidence and were being believed by the public, and despite the inherent improbability of the allegations. I don't think they're inherently improbable. Sorry. These allegations, combined with other well-pleaded allegations demonstrating that UMG knew the defamatory statements were false, plead plausible grounds to infer actual malice on the part of UMG. In order to plead a violation of the New York General Business Law, plaintiff must allege that the defendant engaged in consumer-oriented conduct that is materially misleading, and that plaintiff suffered injury as a result of the allegedly deceptive act or practice. UMG does not dispute the first element. With respect to the second element, conduct is material misleading when it is likely to mislead a reasonable consumer acting reasonably under the circumstances. The amended complaint alleges that UMG financially incentivized third parties, including streaming platforms and radio stations, to recommend, prioritize in searches, promote as top rated or most popular, and ultimately play the recording, all without disclosing its conduct. These deceptive acts and practices, at the very least, raise a prospect that reasonable music consumers would be misled in a material way. That is because reasonable music consumers do not assume that recommended songs, search results, and promoted playlists are the result of the artist label funneling payments or other considerations to the platform through a series of clandestine backchannel payments. Scorpion. Anyway. Indeed, when the New York Attorney General previously charged UMG with payola violations, God, you really want the fucking feds. You are such a bitch. I made it an hour. I think I made it an hour and 9 minutes. That's a record. UMG criticizes plaintiff for pleading on information and belief without a statement of fact, without a statement of the facts upon which the belief is founded. That is not the rule. In Twombly's plausibility standards, excuse me, Twombly's plausibility standards does not prevent a plaintiff from pleading facts alleged upon information and belief where the facts are peculiarly within the possession and control of the defendant, or where the belief is based on factual information that makes the inference of culpability plausible. The amended complaint pleads that UMG concealed its promotional scheme by making indirect payments through a network of unknown third parties. Excuse me. The amended complaint also pleads sufficient factual information concerning UMG's scheme, including examples thereof, contemporary reports, as well as UMG's past practices. UMG then argues the plaintiff fails to plausibly allege that UMG had actual knowledge of any conduct or accusations concerning Kendrick Lamar, citing a case analyzing common law fraud. But there is no requirement under Section 349 that plaintiff plead actual knowledge of anything on the part of UMG. Even if there were, the amended complaint alleges that UMG had actual knowledge of its own deceptive acts or practices. Next, UMG attempts to challenge materially, arguing that Drake does not and cannot allege that Not Like Us would not have been an immense success had it not been for the alleged financial incentives at issue. That is a non sequitur. Drake does not allege, nor was he required to as a matter of law, that UMG's deceptive acts or practices were the sole cause of the recording's immense success. Man, they're fucking good. Plaintiff needs only allege deceptive acts or practices that raise a prospect of materially deceiving consumers, which the amended complaint plainly does, rendering irrelevant the question whether that deception was the but-for cause of the recording's success. With respect to the third element, the amended complaint alleges that UMG's promotional scheme and failure to disclose the same injured Drake. As an artist, Drake suffered pecuniary harm. Artificial streams decrease the unit value of a stream and therefore decrease the amount of royalties paid to rights holders, including Drake. UMG's failure to disclose its scheme, along with its own false statements, fueled the fire. Artificial streams boosted the recording status on Spotify, causing consumers to listen to and prioritize the recording under false pretenses, which in turn tainted the streaming data used to proportionally disperse payments, causing Drake additional harm. Drake was also harmed as a consumer of music. Jesus Christ, they are not fucking around. Walk with me. UMG contends that Drake's theories of harm are purely contingent on harm to consumers and are therefore not cognizable. Not so. While courts have held that a plaintiff lacks standing to bring claims where plaintiff's claimed loss arises solely as a result of injuries suffered by misled consumers, that bar does not apply. Whereas here, Drake's alleged injury did not require a subsequent consumer transaction. Rather, it was sustained when consumers were unfairly induced into taking their business from Drake to Kendrick, regardless of whether the consumer ultimately ever suffered injury as a result of the defendant's deception. That is, Drake suffered harm through diversion of royalties irrespective of whether Spotify users or radio listeners also suffered specific harm. Jesus Christ. This is why he's paying these people. They are not fucking around. You notice there's not a lot of quotes in here from this person said on YouTube, this person said on X. There's none of that shit in here. These people are lawyering. They are arguing the law. They are slicing, dicing, and dissecting the fucking law at a masterful level. I just have to say, they are not fucking around. And they do know what it is that they're doing. Like I said, they signed on for the long game. And people who've been saying, oh, it's just a money grab, it's da-da-da-da-da. The only thing that you are doing when you say things like that is displaying your own simpleton mindset and showing that you don't have a read on the situation. That's not what's happening here. These people are fucking lawyering their asses off. This is not bullshit. It's not stacked with a bunch of fluff. They are cutting to the marrow on what UMG has put forward. And their law citations are devastating and extremely relevant, subject matter-wise. Whereas UMGs were very general and like you could apply it to this. They're doing their fucking jobs on behalf of their client. Y'all got less than 45 minutes to make that goal. Got 20 to go. I don't know if you're gonna get there, but you know, it's all right. It's all right. Although there is a split in authority as to whether New York law recognizes a civil claim for second-degree harassment, application of the relevant test and the weight of authority favor implying a private right of action. New York courts use a very permissive standard to determine whether a private right of action exists. So what they're saying is, and what has been argued back and forth is, the law that Drake cites that he's suing under for second-degree harassment is penal code. Like, call the police, press charges, penal code. UMG is arguing that does not apply to a civil, private right of action, and that you have no right of action for that. And Drake's lawyers are coming back and saying, not so fucking fast. And they are saying that all the tests for determining whether or not Drake can sue under that penal code, they say the test is met because Drake is a victim of harassment, and allowing him to seek civil relief against UMG both promotes the legislative purpose while complementing criminal enforcement. UMG's argument is entirely circular because second-degree harassment is included in the penal law and therefore police may enforce it. A private right of action is inconsistent with the legislative scheme. But that argument, if correct, would defy every implied private right of action in a criminal statute. The weight of authority also favors finding a private right of action. None of the cases UMG cites analyze. Okay. As for the claim itself, Drake sufficiently pleads that UMG engaged in a course of conduct or repeatedly committed acts which alarmed or seriously annoyed Drake with the intent to harass, annoy, or alarm Drake, and which served no legitimate purpose. UMG challenges the intent element, arguing that Drake pleads that UMG acted only with an intent to devalue Drake's music. But intent can only be evaluated by a trier of fact after the record has been fully developed at trial and not in the context of a motion to dismiss at the pleading stage. Oh, that's a dagger. That is a fucking dagger of a legal citation. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Pour one out. Pour one out. At this stage, the amended complaint sufficiently pleads UMG's intent to harass based on the volume and, importantly, timing of publications, the harmful nature of the defamatory material, and UMG's relationship to Drake. With respect to legitimate purpose, to the extent UMG's actions ever had a legitimate purpose, such as financial gain, that purpose was corrupted by at least July 24, 2024, when Drake's counsel directly informed UMG of the violence and harassment Drake was experiencing as a result of UMG's conduct, harm that UMG to this date has never disputed. Finally, UMG's argument that Drake's harassment claim runs afoul of the First Amendment fails. False speech is not protected, as reflected by the continued viability of the ancient tort of defamation centuries after ratification of the Bill of Rights. For the foregoing reason, Drake respectfully requests that the court deny UMG's motion to dismiss and request for judicial notice. Me too. Me too. Just making sure they didn't sneak anything else onto there. Well, that's right. They're doing a good job. We might hate it, but they're doing their job. They are doing their fucking job. Baby, I'm not even a rapper and I'm calling him a bitch. I call him a bitch boy all the time because that's what he is. He's a bitch boy. This is bitch boy behavior. All right. Bitch boy behavior. Let's do that. Let's see what we can get to. You got a little over half an hour to see if you can get a little under 20 super chats left to go. Oh, the headassery is. I don't even. I need to run down. It's hot as shit in here. It's like 80 degrees in here. My ice is all melted in my glass. So I'm gonna step away for a second because I'm starting to get a headache. I need to get something cold to drink. Let's see how many super chats pop up by the time I come back. It'll be quick. I promise it'll be less than 5 minutes, but just give me a moment to pull myself together because it's hot as shit in here. I'll be right back. And then we will discuss. We'll go through the super chats, answer questions, talk shit about this bitch boy. We're going to talk shit about this bitch boy and his lawyers and the damn fine job they did with this document. God damn. All right, now I'll be back. Okay. On 39, you might make it. You might make it there. Thank you, everybody. Mic check, mic check. We good? Oh boy. Y'all. Let's get through some super chats. Island Girl, thank you for kicking it off. Appreciate you. Thank you for the $5 donation. Angie Lady, Tea Fun, thank you. Thank you. I did mark that tea. I did mark that tea and a couple other things. So I will put some together for the 1 year. Thank you. Ayana, hello. For whatever you want. And your hair is beautiful. Thank you. I worked very hard on it. Thank you for the $10 donation. Fateless on some BS already, child. An announcement. Can you get there? Can you get there? We're at 40. Oh, God, we're at 47. We can get there. You get to 3 more. We'll be at 50. Lift every voice and sing A minor. You are a whole fool. True. That'd be great. The de facto national anthem. That's hilarious. They're always giving compliments to Kendrick. T-Mac, Absa, I'm going to need you to stick to the docket and stop reading a telenova, the drama. Ciao. Oh my God, we made the goal. Actual question. How many cited cases have Drake lawyers placed into any of these? A lot. A lot. This is their table of authorities for this document. Six pages. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. T-Mac, thank you for the $10. Is it me or are they saying nothing new? No, they said a lot new. They said a lot new. I mean, their arguments are the same. They're not going to change up their arguments now. They'd get in trouble for that. They've amended their pleading. Now they're responding. And I talked about this before, that they will go back and forth and pick apart each other's legal arguments with case law and you know, forever if there's not deadlines imposed in these things. So I think they did say quite a bit new because they sliced and diced UMG really effectively. And they had citations for everything. And like I said, it was subject-wise really pointed and focused and similar. The Reign of Awesome, thank you, beautiful, for the $2 donation. Just be yapping. Hey, beautiful, how you doing? Aubrey should sue himself for defamation, considering the fact that he literally told Kendra to bring up the PDF allegations and rumors. But he didn't give anybody permission to engage in the level of defamation that they did. I am shy. Thank you for the $2. Just be yapping, coming through again with another 5. Imagine being told you're a colonizer and not like us, then immediately turning into the biggest Karen ever to prove you're op 1000% correct. Poor Miss Aubrey. Yeah, it's rough for Audrey. She's struggling. AFL School of Law Class 2025. Signs disclaimer that Absa is not a lawyer and nothing in this video is legal advice. That's right. God damn it. Angie Lady, I need a drink. Thank you, beautiful. Jazzy One, super sticker, $10. Thank you. Demetrius, thank you for the $5. Here's to the 10-gallon drum of curdled milk being a part of the official court record. That was crazy. Payola, hello. Paola, sorry, hello. A walking blob of jizz is more of a bar than anything Drake reads off a phone. Now that is fucking facts. You know that's right. I'm bulletproof. Adriana S., thank you for the $2. Walking blob of jizz in illegal filing is insane. And this isn't the first time. Michelle Johnston, thank you for the $5. This is why the amicus brief was needed. That rap battle in quotations is making me mad. Yeah, it's pretty enraging. Get out of hip hop, Audrey. Oh, excuse me. Rap. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. They're like, well, UMG's alternative context. You mean what had happened? T-Mac, thank you for the $5. What the snotty doggy dog is this lawyer talking about? Where are the case law sites? We went through. They're there. Why do they willfully and conveniently not understand rap battle? Because it's irrelevant to their argument. It's irrelevant. That's what they're saying. And they've been planning that from day one, that it's irrelevant. Queen Medina, thank you for the $10. Beautiful. Sharita Hall, thank you for the donation. I swear that boy's cornbread ain't done in the middle. I'm bulletproof. Yeah. 46 minutes to crash out. 2-minute rant. Restarts timer. Hey. But thank you for looking out. T-Mac, Absa, take my hand. Your reading is putting me in Black Mirror episode and I can't get out. Where's the part about Aubrey inviting Kendrick to say he likes young girls? But did he really invite him, though? That is now the legal question. Did he really invite him to? UMG didn't help make Drake's rap battles uber popular Negro write or get your ghostwriters to write better songs. I got a headache. I know. Stout. Thank you for the support. So you think this will actually be successful then? Yeah, man. They did their big one on this. They really did. And it's so evident to me that they've actually had a strategy for these pleadings. They knew what they said in the beginning, why they said it, and they've had a plan for it all along. And that is revealed in this document. Oh, no. This is the court record, not the what done happen out in the streets record. And that's irrelevant. If they want to make it relevant, that happens in discovery, that happens in trial. It doesn't happen here. The only thing that happens here is a judge looks at what we have presented and says, yep, checks all the boxes, technically, can go forward. No, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But I've said from the beginning that people saying like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," and the judge is going to throw it out as soon as she reads it. That's not how it works. Okay, you're ignorant to the process. How it works is what you're seeing. They have to argue. They have to debate one another. They have to put their arguments to a judge. And the judge can't say, "Well, I saw what happened and this is bullshit." No, the judge can only go off of what is entered onto the record. Sequentially. Certain parts of the process apply to different pieces of information. And that's why they left everything out. We didn't bring it up. It's irrelevant. If they want to bring it up, they can do that later in the process of a lawsuit. Follow up. If Drake's lawyers had this finishing move in stock, is it possible that UMG is also about to unveil a nuke on June 11th? Sure, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Sure. Yeah. Drake is like a gnat that won't go away. Queen Medina. That is so true. Takato, hello. Thank you for all that you do in this space. Thank you, beautiful. Appreciate the support. But Absa, free speech and hip hop culture hinge on this madness. A pox on Drake, his house, and his legal team. I don't disagree with you. Just because I point out facts doesn't mean I'm in disagreement with y'all. Motivation Nation. You kicked off that last push, good for you. Let's get to that goal. Aqua, doing my part. Contributing to the hydration fund. Thank you. Somebody match me. If you don't, I'll take it as secondhand harassment. Serotonin, thank you, beautiful. Positivity Bays, thank you. Or Bez, thank you. Ergo Chondo, doing my part. DeBoy or D-Boy, $10, thank you. Hillary Harris, thank you. Annabelle, thank you. Y'all just pushing it up. The Reign of Oswin, thank you. Sharita Hall, thank you. Sound barriers and arguments can be broken. This is going to be ugly. Yep. Motivation Nation, somebody match my 5 for K dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5. Anisha Cooper, wow, Aubrey. It was the braids all along, child. It's the tuna fish bagel at this point in time. Evelyn Williams, thank you for the support. Antoinette Williams, getting to the goal. Let's go. Appreciate you. DMV doll, thank you for the $5. His lawyers are lawyering, unfortunately. Yes, they are. Agua Flor, second donation because the last announcement was a book. Yeah, it was. How much time left? Y'all made it. It was a 2-hour, I believe it was a 2-hour goal. Let me check. Let me check. Make sure. The goal is achieved. That's what it says. Okay. BX Finest 179, thank you. Bana, thank you. Aw, thank you. Let's fucking go. And seriously, thanks. Over Analyst, thank you. Queen Medina, thank you again. Jess, the whole ass mess. Trans rights and yay announcement and boo Drake. for sure. Jazzy One, thank you again for the super sticker. T Mac, trying to get to the goal. UMG attorneys better work for real. I asked too early about the case law cited. Here's this for the docket fund and Princey's meow 1 2 3 4 meow social account that we all know he has. I know we've been outed. And congrats on your amazing restraint tonight. Thanks. Thanks. Music decorates time. I love that name, by the way. It's gross, but those lawyers are barred up. Yeah, they are. Lady Sumi, question. The song itself wouldn't exist without context, so even if they cite case law about the case, how is context not relevant? Also, thank you so much for reading this to us and explaining everything so well. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I don't know if I can give you an adequate answer. In some cases, the court has found that context is relevant. And in other cases, the court has found that it's not relevant. And only the statements in dispute are relevant. And Drake's lawyers laid out very clearly where similar statements specific to those statements, regardless of what was said 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, 10 days before, a year before, were actionable for a lawsuit. So this is why they're going back and forth, going back and forth, going back and forth. And Mrs. C60, thank you for the $10 donation. Well, y'all did that. And that's a record. That is a record of super chats during a live. 61 so far. I'm writing another book. That's the announcement. It's called Exhibit A, Drake versus the Culture. And it's about the lawsuit. And it will be out August, September. It will be out after the judge's decision on motion to dismiss. That's the announcement. So, if you want to grab the first book, the links are in the description. If you want a signed hardcover, link is in the description. If you're a member and you want a signed hardcover, go to the YouTube post tab. Your link is there for discounted price. If you're a member on Patreon, go to Patreon. Your link is there for discounted price. So if you want signed hardcover and you're not a member, links are below. If you just want to buy the book, paperback or hardcover, links are in the description. And again, if you're a member in the US and you want a signed copy, this is the last round. There will be no more signed copies of this book. So whether you are a member or not a member and you want one, you better get on it because when they're gone, they are gone. If I do another run of signed books, it will be for international folks. That's very hard to deal with right now with this upheaval of, tariffs, not tariffs, tariffs, not tariffs. And then Canada Post is also going through a strike right now. So I've been getting a lot of emails on how to get shit to Canada. So that's where things are at. If you want to buy Bloodlines and Battle Rhymes, How Rap Beef Became a Cultural Reckoning in paperback or hardcover, link is in the description. If you want a signed copy, link is in the description. If you are a member, I'm saying this again because people watch the lives and then leave a comment like, I don't know where to find it. If you are a member on Patreon, go to Patreon, use the link there. If you are a member on YouTube, go to the post tab, use the link there. The discounted price is built in on those links. If you use the general link that's in the description for a signed copy, you're paying full price. So yes, I am writing another book. I started writing this book. I realized that I was writing 3 books at one time. Bloodlines and Battle Rhymes and Exhibit A, and then a book that has nothing to do with any of this stuff kept coming into my brain, so I've set that aside for after I finish Exhibit A, Drake versus the Culture. Tell your people to get you the damn book. Put that on a wish list. Make it happen, Captain. Make it happen. So, that's the announcement that I redacted in a recent live when I was like, "I'm excited, I wanna tell you something." And then I was like, "Never mind." And then somebody said, "Give us the redacted version." And I was like, "I redacted in September." And I wrote a book that will be released in September or, very shortly after that decision is made, regardless of what the decision is, because the book is already long as shit. So the book will end with that decision, and maybe at some point in time down the road, depending on what does and doesn't happen with that case, ultimately, there will be a 3rd book, but I think it will be 2. We'll see. Oh, yeah, that's really disrespectful. I was actually an author before I was a YouTuber, but shade on, I guess, if that's what makes you feel good. 23 more likes to reach 700. Oh, look at book orders. I'm like, "What's that?" You're not playing. It say limited quantity, limited quantity. Orders are filled in the order they are received. So If you're in the replay gang and you're like, "Oh shit," don't worry. Don't worry, okay? I think you'll be okay. For a couple days, hopefully. You'll be able to get an order in. Hi, Tekken. Good to see you, beautiful. Author turned YouTuber. YouTube don't deserve Absa for real. Yeah, but you do. You deserve me. YouTube doesn't deserve me, but y'all do. And that's why I'm still here, because the biscuit head assery behind the scenes is really just motivation to not be a part of the platform. Payola, get yourself a drink. I sure shall. Great hip hop week streak interrupted by Drake. Yeah, he's doing the most. He's doing the most. Old school Gemini. Hello, beautiful. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for all your docket legal readings and breakdowns, Absa. You're welcome, beautiful. You are totally welcome. Tunisia Greer, as wild as this fight is, at least it's not actual drive-by shootings and assassinations happening. Damn straight. And I've seen people out there like, oh God, now it's gonna go to this level or that level, or now, Joey Badass has gonna shoot you. That energy is not here. If y'all weren't old enough to actually know what happened when it happened, to experience it as a part of the culture, to know what was in the air, to know the energy, to know that you could feel it ratcheting up to a disaster point, we are not in that energy. We're in, it used to be fuck that nigga, now it's plural. Protecting my peace. That is the exact opposite of shooting somebody. Kenny protecting his whole ass piece. He might be doing it with his piece, but that's beside the point. Who amongst us isn't? Betty. Betty protects my piece. Shit. Now I'm so sick and tired of this man saying that Not Like Us is incitement to violence, that it was an actual threat, that Kendrick used it to actually threaten him and incite the public to violence, and then gave them a map. Aspiring accomplices, gave them a map on where to find Drake. Like, it makes you go, what the fuck? But when you consider that the judge's job is not to sit on the bench and say, I saw everything that happened, this is bullshit, it makes perfect sense why he's arguing it the way that he's arguing it, why he is creating the narrative that he is creating, because that's the only way he can win. He has to chop off everything before and everything after and just focus on that. Not what he did, not what he appears to have invited. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, it's not the same. And it wasn't just violence happening between rappers. It was directly connected to the street and violence that was happening in the street of people's names you will never know because they weren't famous. So, and social media wasn't even around then. Black Planet on dial-up was not the same as what we deal with today. Not even fucking close. So, yeah, June 11. Oh, yeah, he needs to calm down. June 11. Looking at my calendar. Which is in 2 weeks. So they have 14 days instead of 21. Is when UMG will file its response to what we've just read through. And then on June 30, they have a hearing in front of the judge where they fight each other. And then sometime after that, it's probably not going to be an issue. The judge at the end of the hearing is not going to be like, okay, well, here's my ruling. No, she and her staff are going to have to go research and write a bunch of fucking shit to figure out the decision and issue it to the docket. And we'll all find out what is happening with the future of this case. When we find out what is happening with the future of this case, it'll be interesting to see if the friends of the court, the rap scholars, have anything to say about this, or if they wait for UMG's last word, and then it'll be interesting to see if they have a last word as well, that they want to interject for the court's consideration. And they'll probably be at the hearing. If not just to be in the courtroom, they'll probably be there, or their attorney will probably be there. So that's where things are at, y'all. My titties is sweaty. Wow. I'm a little shell-shocked. Did I not download this? Oh. Nope, I didn't. Let me do that now, so I gotta pay for it again. Jesus. I'm just looking at a summary of what we just read. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Obviously, I have a crystal ball, but that's not how they work. The one moment I think UMG's got it, and the next moment, I think Drake's lawyers have got it, and I still think it could go either way. I still think it could go either way, and anybody who thinks, "Oh, this is easy peasy and the court is gonna dismiss it," doesn't understand how the process works and might not care. Robin Silver, hi, beautiful. Thank you so much for your support. Drake is such a bore. So glad I had your book to read as a balm to my soul. Oh. Thank you. Child, I do not care about Kai or Streamer University. I don't give a shit. Okie dokie. Anyone else deflated at how good Drake's lawyers are playing this? I was hoping they weren't so switched on. Well, they are. They're very switched on. They're very into it. They're very in tune. I like strategy, and this is one. This is a strategy. Aiden, how should UMG approach this response? With case law. Targeted case law. That's the only thing they can do. Fluff and padding aren't going to get them anywhere. This is very serious. And June 11th is their last at bat. That's it. Well, I mean, they get to go before the judge and argue some shit. But in writing, June 11th, that's their last at bat in trying to get this dismissed. I hope, as someone asked earlier, that they've been holding on to some shit. And they're going to play it, aggressively in that final round of written argument. Yeah, that's how they should play it. And if they can't get this case dismissed, they should countersue Drake. Fateless. This lawsuit is playing out a lot more even than the battle was. Yes. Yes. What would the countersuit be? Breach of contract. For what? I don't know. They'll figure something out. They'll figure something out. Adriana, it's not sitting well with my spread. I get it. I really do. I get it. I'm just like, oh man, the body blows. The body blows. I don't think UMG has put the B team on this. I think they've come with B arguments. This is an up your rank. What we just read. Drake's lawyers leveled the fuck up. Massively. Huge steps. They don't give a fuck who's reading this document except the judge. They don't give a shit that we're reading it right now. They don't give a shit that the press is going to be writing about it tomorrow. This is legal fighting. And they're very fucking good. And the research that had to go into putting that together, and that 6 pages of case law citations that's real work. That's real work that they put in. So now it's up to UMG to step the fuck up. To step the fuck up. And they're working on it right now. As we've been reading it, they've been having a conversation of who's going to take which part, who's going to research it. They're going to start figuring out what are the counter arguments tomorrow. And they're going to work on this shit. They've got a week less than what has been going back and forth so far. You get 3 weeks, you get 3 weeks. Now it's 14 days. So they're going to, I mean, they're already all over, but they are going to be eating and sleeping this case to write their final written argument for motion to dismiss. No, that's nothing but public bullshit. Tory's case is completely solid. That motherfucker is guilty, and the governor of California is not going to let him out of jail. That's different. That is public perception that the case is weak. So what Tory's team is very good at is giving the perception of something that is not reality and getting a bunch of people to believe it. It's different. But it is enraging, but it's different. Marshall Irons, hate to admit it, but Drake said Kendrick could bring up the girls, but didn't say UMG could publish it is quite the flex. It feels dirty. It is dirty. It's gross. It's technical. It's hair splitting. It is, nigga, really? Nigga, really? That's all you got? That's all you got is, well, legally, that didn't constitute an invitation for A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. You bitch boy.
Just pull yourself together.
You a bitch boy, Drake. They wouldn't be able to enforce that because they released the song. So no, they wouldn't be able to sue him for that because they released the song. That would get you want to see some shit get laughed out of court? That would get laughed out of court. That would get dismissed on its face as retaliatory litigation. They published the song, so they can't sue him for that. Now, for the shit that he has put out that he didn't have permission to publish, they could sue him for that. They could sue him for Anita Max win. They could come up with anything. It's once you get into contract disputes and violations of this, that, and the other, and you see how technically obnoxious lawyers can be when it comes to language and terms and the interpretation thereof they will find something. They will find something. Yep, we don't know. But they keep referring to it. They keep referring to it. But we also know from the protective order that they don't want us to ever see these contracts in question. Not the general long form contract, not Drake's contract, and not Kendrick's contract. They don't want those things to ever be public. But Drake is the one who keeps bringing up UMG's general long form contract and what it says in there about defamation. Drake's contract is tailored specific to Drake. So he is making a lot of assumption as well about what's in another person's contract. He doesn't know. He's basing that off of what's in his contract and what's in the, general long form contract that everybody starts with and then is tailored to them. And I'm sure his contract probably has addendums to it too. So we'll see. We shall see. Oh, y'all did good. Y'all did good. This is why I say don't ever underestimate stupid people with a plan. Especially stupid people who have the resources to carry out that plan. Resources means you go hire people who are smarter than you, who know how to get the thing that you want for you. Drake didn't sue pro se. Drake said, I need lawyers that cost $2,500 an hour. What do they call it when your behavior can nullify a contract? Do they do that in music? Yeah, they do. It's still ultimately breach of contract. I know the term you're referring to. The morality clauses and things like that. Yeah. And it's interesting how Drake's lawyers are like, UMG would never enter into a contract with somebody who A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And they would, yes, the fuck they would. I didn't like those parts of it. I don't like it. I didn't like the speaking for the other parties in the affirmative or taking a position, assuming a position of the other parties in the affirmative, which of course you have to do because you're a lawyer. So of course you're going to try it. But saying things like, UMG obviously understood this, that, and the other, that you don't know that to be true. That just helps your argument. So you worded it in that way. But there could be untold reasons why such and such thing happened during the beef. So yeah, I'm not surprised about the hair splitting, but I'm surprised at how sharp their knife is and how finely they split that hair. Because you're right. These are the same motherfuckers that said not like us is anti-Semitic. And that was a woo, woo, whoa, whoa. That still trips me out. It still trips me out. But I'm telling y'all, I'm so glad that document reading has gotten more popular in the sense that people are actually learning more about the difference between what happens in real life and what happens in a courtroom. And how and why is it that way? Instead of just, like give it the weight and credit that it actually deserves, because we've talked about this before. This case could have huge implications on music, on artists, and yes, on the First Amendment. Huge implications that will disproportionately impact Black people, Black artists, Black creatives than anybody else. It will impact everybody, but it will have disproportionate impact in the art, in life, in the judicial arena, which is why the rap scholars weighed in, who aren't just rap scholars, they're criminal justice experts. So while Drake's lawyers are like, that's nice, The scholars are here. That's an academic exercise. They're downplaying who those people are. It's not an academic exercise. Those people are experts at testifying to legal matters and interpretations of art and Black art in legal matters. So they can try and poo-poo the rap Avengers all they want, but their presence is important, and their opinions, their independent opinions, may actually have weight in the eyes of the court. Too soon to tell. I think I saw somebody say, I will put work from home on my calendar for June 11th. Child, you already know. You already know. Today was much better than the last couple times because I did exactly what it was I said I was going to do. I did not wait for this document. I had my day regularly scheduled and went on with my day. The thing that had me fucked up for the majority of the day was the fact that Rodney O filed a motion for jury trial after the judge entered onto the docket that it would be a bench trial because he missed the deadline. You want to talk about a dazed. I really just could not. The thing that's so wild to me is I've actually dealt with people just like Rodney O and just like Nicole Key, sorry. I've dealt with people just like them on the opposite side of the table. And they were on the opposite side of the table, not because of the issue, but because of their fucking behavior, their conduct, and the harm that they were causing, which totally undermined their claims that they actually gave a fuck about the issue. You don't give a fuck about the issue. You give a fuck about your ego. And you will sabotage yourself in the hopes of making other people fail. People like that are dangerous. Dangerous. And despite the fact that I have dealt with people just like them and have seen some outlandish shit. People do outlandish shit, wielding the law to do it. Every time Necole Key or Rodney O or Joe Cooley, for that matter, you ain't gonna drop me from the lawsuit if you don't drop my homeboy, is the wildest take ever. It is so difficult for me to process. And that's with all of the tricks that I've learned throughout, which is don't try and figure it out. Just accept that people do what works for them. They're doing what works for them. Honor that. Deal with that as the reality. I'm still over here like, why the fuck would you file a motion for a jury trial after the deadline when the judge ordered you to respond by deadline 2 days later? You're like, oh yeah, I want a jury trial. And I served all the parties, so give me my jury trial. Nigga, she put on the docket several hours ago. No jury trial for you. So anyway, I was really distracted by that. It just kept popping into my head at random points throughout the day after I saw it this morning. And I'm just like, somebody make it stop. I don't know what else to say. Make it stop. This shit is so unnecessary. I need somebody to make it stop. Aaron, welcome, beautiful. Thank you for your support. So you don't get partial credit for like work. You're just gonna start pissing people off. Don't, if you aren't It was due by midnight on Friday. If it's not coming in at 12:01 on Saturday with the deepest begs of forgiveness to the court, my computer crashed, I didn't have internet. So you got to come up with something, but it needs to be proximal to the deadline. 2 days later, 2 days later. At first, I thought it was 5 days because it didn't show up until today. But when I went back and looked, it said it was entered on the 25th. He dated it for the 23rd. Dated it for the 23rd, entered it on the 25th. It showed up on the docket today after the judge's order for a bench trial. I was fucking beside myself. Just beside myself. It just, none of this is necessary. It doesn't need to be this way. Somebody needs to make it stop. That's really how I felt. Fuck. So. Judges don't really do upset, because it could be perceived as biased. So I don't think she showed any upset yet. I think she has shown firm boundaries of what is and is not acceptable legally. And she's going to continue to do that. But you can offend a court and you can waste the court's time. And that does upset judges. They don't like that. And they will warn you and then they will sanction your ass. And if your friends are fucking up on your behalf, they'll sanction them too. So them out there screaming about, the proposed protective order is our rights, our First Amendment rights, and they're trying to gag us and blah, 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 blah. And in one filing, he's saying Necole Key is with me. And then in another filing, he's saying she's not a party to this. I can't control what she says. We can't infringe on her First Amendment rights. You're fucking playing games. Necole Key is subject to that protective order. Let that bitch put up some confidential communications again and see what the fuck happens to your case. I said what the fuck I said because I'm sick of this shit. She's done it before. It's on the court record. We all have screenshots. We all fucking saw it. The Discord loves to check in on her social media accounts and terrify all of us with what they have found. So, yeah, fuck around, find out. They've insulted the judge. They've done all kinds of willful disregard, and they keep Rodney O keeps filing the same motions for the same fucking shit, keeps getting denied by the court because he doesn't know how to do what it is that he is complaining about. And it's not the court's job to tell him. That constitutes giving legal advice, and that's biased. It's not the judge's job to help you win your case. It's not the judge's job to explain the local rules of procedure, the federal rules for procedure in the Southern District of New York. It's not her job to do that. You either get it right or you fuck it up. And if you fuck it up, your motions are going to be denied, or you're going to be punished by the court in some way. If you're fucking up to the extent that you're making it difficult for the other parties to litigate on the case, you're junking up the docket, and you keep filing the same shit over and fucking over again. I'm sorry. Woosah, child. Woosah. It fucking defies winning. It defies winning. That's for goddamn sure. Case law. Case law. They need to format the document. That was for you, Fateless. Case law. Case law. Yeah. As I said, I've done it a couple times for myself and for other people, and it wasn't because I thought I can do better than a lawyer. It was because wasn't a lawyer available, or couldn't afford a lawyer, or it was an administrative hearing process, and the arbiter was a retired judge, you know? But it was never because I thought to myself, I can do better than a lawyer? No. No. Because the fucked up thing is every single time I went up against a lawyer. And I remember the very first time and the very first case. And that woman whooped my ass. At every stage, she whooped my ass. I lost the case. It was on behalf of a minor graduating high school. Her whole future was about to be fucked off. And I lost. And so her whole future was about to be was fucked off. She was about to lose her schooling. She was about to lose her summer program. That would have qualified her to go to college. That would have then led to her going to law school. And I lost that case. Like, lost. And I remember at the first hearing, during a break, I called my boss. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I thought she's throwing case law. She's objecting. She's speaking over me. She's da-da-da-da-da. It was a black woman. And my boss was like, I want you to walk up to her right now. He was like, where is she? I was like, she's standing over by the, okay. And where's the retired judge? I don't know, in the bathroom. He was like, I want you to walk over to her right now. And I want you to say these words. And I was like, yeah, okay, all right, I'll call you back. He was like, I said, walk over there right now while I'm on the phone. He was like, or you're fired, basically. He was like, you're going to say this shit to her while I'm on the phone so that I can hear you, or you don't work here anymore. And I did have to walk across that big ass room right up to that woman's face with my boss on the phone and repeat verbatim as confidently as I could to her what he said, told me to say. I'm not going to repeat it. And that was day one of this process. Okay. We go through the whole process. She kicks my ass. I lose. My client loses. The decision is against us. And then the day after, loss. And here's the thing. I didn't want to take the case. I told people that I didn't want to take the case. It was a family member who brought it to me, an elder who was like, you have to do this. I was like, the fuck I do? No, we're going to lose. And here's why. Berated me. I finally did it. Anyway, lost the case. The next day, I get a knock on my door, and there is a fucking courier there with an envelope. And it's from the lawyer who kicked my ass. I still have it. And it's been, I was probably, I'm almost 50. So I'm going to say 23 or 24 when this happened. It was a letter from her. I sat down, I opened the letter, and the letter basically said, you're good. You're really good. And keep going. I know this was probably really hard for you because you lost at every turn, but you're really good at what you do and you should keep going. And oh, by the way, we are not going to expel your client. We are not going to da 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 da. She will graduate. She will walk. We are not interfering with her mandatory summer program for her scholarship to go to a major university. And she is a lawyer. She is a lawyer. I saw her one day in Costco and she recognized me immediately. I didn't recognize her, but she recognized me immediately and was like, "Oh my God, you are da 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 da." I remember afterwards, I remember calling her, letting her know, letting her mother know, calling my boss, letting my boss know, calling my family member that started all this shit to get me involved, letting them know. Her family is from the continent. They had me over, cooked me this wonderful meal that I literally still think about one of the dishes to this fucking day. And then, yeah, one day just randomly saw her in Costco and she made a fucking beeline for me. She was like, "You're, oh my God, da 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 da." And she was like, "I am a lawyer. This is who I work for. I represent children. Da 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 da." I was like, "What?" She was like, "My whole life would have ended. I would not be here right now talking to you. I would not have the job I have. I would not be able to help the children that I help if you had not taken my case and helped me." But yeah, it wasn't because I thought I could do better than a lawyer. It's because a lot of lawyers are bitch asses and they don't like to make the legal profession uncomfortable. They don't like to make the status quo uncomfortable. They all rub arms together, rub shoulders. So when you're going after one power structure, you're fucking with their friends or people they rub elbows with at the dinners and the awards ceremonies and the blah, 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 blah. Went years dealing with lawyers go, "Oh, no, no, this is a valid case. I'm not touching that shit." Because then I got to deal with, and then such and such. And, my wife is on the board with, ugh, fuck you. We'll just do it our goddamn selves. Very hard. Can be very hard to convince a lawyer. And then also the thing that I learned over time, and I spent a lot of years teaching people how to do this, is how to present your case to a lawyer to help them understand it legally and help them see the win. You have to damn near become a paralegal and prep your case to that degree and not go in with your story. But for a long time, that's why I can say with confidence, righteous indignation will fuck you. You can be right about a thing and lose because righteous indignation is not enough. The moral high ground is not enough. You have to fight to win, and you need smarter people around you to do that, or you have to commit yourself. Commit every waking hour of your brain to figuring out, how do I win in an arena I have no familiarity with? How do I win? And that's another reason why I always talk about the fundamentals, because you can win if you focus on the fundamentals and you keep it actually as simple and straight to the point as possible. But it takes work, like 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, work to do it. So I don't admire anybody who has to deal with a situation pro se, because it is very hard, but it is possible to do and to win. And after that case, I never lost. Never. So 2 weeks. We'll see what it is that they have to say. And if anything else, comes up onto the docket in the meantime, I'm sure we'll discuss it. But this is interesting. This is their plan really crystallizing of why their narrative is the way that it is. Really, really crystallizing. And it's a strategy, and it very well could be a winning one. This is why the country's fucked now. I talk about this all the time. Here and in my real life. I talk about this all the time because the amount of energy that Democrats want to put on Trump is breaking the law to enrich himself over Trump is breaking the law and violating people's rights is still going and still fucking irritating. And it is all about moral superiority and progressives, Democrat, whatever the fuck you want to call them, their addiction to process. Republicans are addicted to power. They don't give a fuck about process unless it gets them power. And here we all are. So goes the nation, so goes the planet. So hi, Nikki Edmonds. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I've said from the jump that I've always leaned more towards this is going to trial in some capacity than it's not going to trial. I could see defamation getting dismissed. I think he's muddied the waters enough on Payola that it will probably go through, although I thought UMG made some good arguments in their last round. Second-degree harassment, they've bolstered that this round. They've really bolstered that. Not decisively, but nevertheless, they've bolstered it. And the way they fucking just, I mean, the fillet that they do with case law on UMG's arguments is wow. I know. I forgot last time to tell y'all the devil story. I have a very short devil story. So, Devil has a friend now, Demon. And you know that they've been trying to catch Devil for at least 2 years. They have a court order to catch Devil. They can go on to the property of the owner of Devil at any point in time to catch Devil. And again, they've tried. I've told you stories. They can't catch Devil. So the other day, last week, I'm in the kitchen. I'm making lunch. And I look out the window and I see my neighbor's dog walker, Black woman. We've waved a couple times, but mostly to discern, like, who are you? They were gone on vacation. I kept seeing this person walking over there. Hi, who are you? Oh, I'm the dog walker. Da, 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 da. So now there's at least some, visual familiarity. So I see her walking, over towards my neighbor's place, and I'm like, oh, cool. She's going to pick up the little pupper for a walk. Or whatever she was doing, maybe taking him home from a walk. I don't really know. I just saw her walking in that way, and then I saw her coming back. And so I do a double take. I look over, and Devil is with her. And her dog. Devil has bit every other dog on this block. He's bitten children. He's bitten people. Here he is with a whole ass human and her big ass dog. Devil is right next to her, like he's her dog. looking up at her, walking, tail wagging, running around her dog. She's talking to him. I mean, he's right fucking there. She could literally reach down and grab Devil. And I am genuinely, I saw my jaw dropped. I'm cooking raw fish, so I've got gloves on. I'm trying to put stuff, cover stuff, get the gloves off, get to the door. Excuse me. Hey, sis. She's like, oh, hi. I'm like, she comes back. She's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, Devil. She goes, huh? I said, the dog. Devil. She was like, is that his name? I said, I don't know. We love him anyway. But we call him Devil. She was like, and the gray one. I said, that's Demon. She said, okay. I said, he likes you? She was like, oh, he follows me damn near to my house at my ankle. She said, he's obsessed with my dog. And I'm just staring at her like she is a legitimate unicorn. And at one point, I apologized to her. I'm like, I'm sorry. I know I'm staring at you funny, but in the 2 years they've been trying to catch this dog, I've never seen Devil, not even with his own humans, this close to a person, this close to another dog. I've never seen him happy. And she was like, oh, yeah, da 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 da. And, so she was like, so they've been trying to catch him. I said, they have a court order to get him. She was like, oh, my God. She was like, well, I'm glad somebody is trying to do something. I said, oh, you're glad? She was like, yeah, because I see him all the time. And obviously he's not. I was like, so how do you feel about dogs being trapped? She was like, this is obviously better than the alternative. I said, I'm going to need your phone number. She was like, okay. I was like, I just want to be clear. Are you down to help trap Devil? She was like, yes. I was like, okay, I'm going to make some phone calls. It might take a couple weeks for them to come back out here. I was like, I want to know your schedule. What day do you? She was like, I'm always down here on Thursdays. I was like, Thursday it is. I was like, a Thursday in the near future, either myself or animal control is going to call you and we are going to figure out how they can be very nearby when you grab this fucking dog so that they can take him. She was like, I'm down for that. I was like, oh my God. So, yeah, that's my little story. I was so shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what? 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 Uh, so that's it. Not even the animal control dual wielder. Their expert dog catcher could not get Devil. I mean, yeah, so at some point in time, in the next couple weeks, they're going to be like, all right, let's huddle up. Everybody huddle up. Let's figure out what the game plan is going to be. And I'm just going to be like, I defer to her because she obviously first of all, she needs protection so that when she grabs him, he doesn't hurt her. And then somebody needs to be there immediately to take that dog from her. And y'all going to have to figure that out and coordinate that. Oh, is that his name, sis? That's his personality. He escaped hell to wander these streets. Okay. He really did. Devil is crazy. I think that too, Ergo Chondo. Every now and then I wonder if that dog catcher be thinking about how he couldn't catch Devil. I know it probably haunts him because he's the guy that they call when they are trying to catch a dog. And when I saw him ambidextrously wielding two of them things at the same time and had figured out how to tighten them with his elbows, I was like, okay. I see why they called you, sir. I see why they called you. And he ran around for hours trying to catch that dog. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Hi, Halima. Bye, Halima. Good to see you, beautiful. Shout out to the replay gang. Devil just gotta like someone. He just gotta like someone, and he likes her. She was like, "Oh, this dog loves me." She said that she almost leashed him once at her house. I was like, "Oh yeah, I need your phone number. I need your phone number." Yeah, thank you, Fateless. For anyone who's new, Devil is a Chihuahua. Devil is a Chihuahua. He runs the motherfucking streets around here. And the reason why we want Devil caught is 1, he is aggressive, and 2, his neighbors are fucking horrible, and they will leave this dog out in 115-degree temperatures and 3 feet of snow. They don't give a shit about that dog. So that's how I met Devil. He was howling outside of my house in a snowstorm that should have killed him by the next day. So he's got gripes, you know, he's earned it. I do believe he deserves the soft life, but he needs to be caught. Yes, he is a Chihuahua, which I don't believe. Every time they're like, "Oh, the Chihuahua," I'm like, "It's a Pomeranian," but whatever. They're like, "It's a Chihuahua." I'm like, "It's clearly a Pomeranian." I have never seen a long-haired Chihuahua in my goddamn life. But then again, he's been outside long enough that he is quite long-haired. He looks like a fucking Pomeranian, but he's a Chihuahua. So, switching up entirely. Y'all see the Tory Lanez video? Y'all see that shit? They for real tried to kill that motherfucker. Wow. I was like, you know, I'm used to the whole shanking situation being up close, you know, and like really kind of short stabs. I'm not used to seeing full arm swings of a shank into somebody's body repeatedly, very fast. Very fast did he stab that man. This man right here, Daystar Peterson. The attack is on video and it is brutal. He did have a shirt on at the start of it. The other thing that's crazy, it for sure took place in prison because you see people just walking by. Got their lunch tray, walking by. TMZ. Got their commissary, walking by. Got their laundry, walking by, minding their good goddamn motherfucking business. He stabbed the shit out of Tory Lanez. Again, full arm swings. I can't play the video because then I gotta fish it out and cut it up, and then the live chat replay will be gone, and I don't like that. I like to see the live chat replay when I do the replay. So I can't play the video, but here's a still shot. I saw the video. I was like, oh my God. He tried to kill that nigga. I think he was in shock the whole time. And that adrenaline of trying to get away from somebody who has you by your clothes, he came up out of his top to get away from him. So in the video, you see him down on his back, and then when he's stabbing him in the back, wow, it's violent, as you can see. It's not no little pokey poke. He tried to kill that nigga, no question. That's the only reason why he went after him, was to kill him. And it's very clear in the video that he tried to kill him. It wasn't just some little altercation and a little pokey poke. He tried to kill that nigga. It had to be absolutely fucking terrifying. When a killer tries to kill you, that's a different kind of fear. There's a stranger trying to kill you. There's somebody you know coming at you. And then there's somebody who is a killer who has decided you got to die. Terrifying under any circumstances. Period. Period. Terrifying. And I'm pretty sure that he thought dude was too slight to get the best of him. Nigga, he done rubbed off part of your hair transplant. That's how much he fucked you up. Your plugs came out. This is an image of Tory Lanez seconds after he was attacked in prison. That boy ran down the stairs as fast as he could. It probably took him, because of the adrenaline, probably 5 to 15 minutes to realize, to feel the effects of, there's something wrong with my lungs. Because that adrenaline got him up out his top and down them stairs. He was on the ground under the dude. He had no leverage. He kicked him a couple times, but Tory had no leverage in that entire situation. In the video, from what you see, none. I thought he was going to roll down the stairs. But he gets up and he books it down the stairs and then comes around the corner. So you can see puncture wounds on his body in this image. I see probably 5. And then when he was on his stomach and being stabbed in the back, that's when I was like, that's when it all just kind of like clicked into my brain of like, oh my God. He tried to talk to homegirl's girlfriend or wife who was there for a personal visit. He tried to holler at her aggressively. And again, because it is prison, and particularly prison in California, it's also important to point out that this was done across racial lines. And you don't do that. You want to piss somebody off? Piss somebody off of your own race. Don't piss off the Mexicans. And for God's sakes, don't piss off the white people. But Tory's a fucking idiot. He's arrogant as shit. He also ain't from here. So whether it was that or something else, he did something that offended somebody to the point that the code says you can die for that. the politics around that, the prison politics around that are just equally terrifying. I said before, either the dude that did it was a little solo Tasmanian devil because he's in there because he killed somebody. So he doesn't have allegiance to his people. He doesn't give a fuck what anybody says. Fuck everybody who fucks with me. I'm a killer. I'll kill you. Or they greenlit a killer to take out this motherfucker. Either way, terrifying situation. Terrifying. Just a dummy. Jen Lynn, the boogies. Hey, beautiful. Thank you for the $5 donation. Looks like a fuck around and find out moment to me. That's exactly what it looks like. And I said that off jump. He did something. I don't know what he did, but he did something. Because that's how prison politics work when it comes to, we gonna kill somebody. You did something. He's wearing multiple chains. He's got a bracelet on. They can get anything in prison. They can get anything in prison. So, yeah. Quite terrifying. Quite terrifying. The only other news that I saw that made me roll my eyes was Diddy trying to drag Cassie back into court to testify again. I don't think he's going to be successful because she just had a baby, but also because they had plenty of opportunity to question her about what they want to question her about now, and they didn't. So, but I saw that shit this morning and was like, nigga, fuck you. That was my reaction. Nigga, fuck you. Tried to have Kid Cudi's testimony thrown out, said there was no evidence, and now a bunch of fucking people have testified to the evidence that it was Diddy. So but yeah, that's about it. Yeah, they wanted to question her because apparently she's either has or is about to have a settlement with the Intercontinental Hotel. And they want to question her about that. They knew about it when she testified. They cross-examined her for 2 days. They didn't ask her shit about it. And now they're telling the judge we need her back on the stand to question her about that. I don't think you do. It has no fucking relevance whatsoever. And fuck you. Thanks. On behalf of all women. Fuck you. That I think, let's see, one of the things that I saw this morning. Yep, at 7:03, no, 6:03 this morning. 14. This came in one email. 14 new docket entries for United States v. Combs. And the majority of that is shit from his lawyers that they're putting on the docket. Motion to toss out this, motion for this, motion for that. I was just like, I'm not reading this. The only one that I paid attention to was the Cassie one. But yeah. So, well, we have Drake's response to UMG's motion to dismiss. And in 2 weeks' time, UMG will submit their final written argument for motion to dismiss. And then on June 30th, they will go before the judge and do oral arguments. And then sometime after that, the judge will release her decision about what happens in the case. And shortly after that, my second book, Exhibit A, Drake versus the Culture, will be available for purchase. But until then, buy Bloodlines and Battle Rhymes. Links are in the description. You can get a signed hard copy. It is available to everybody. Link is in the description. If you are a member, don't use that link. Go to Patreon, use the member link for your built-in discount. Go to the post tab on YouTube, use that link for your built-in discount for a signed copy. This is it. This is the last round of signed hardcover copies. Orders will be filled in the order they are received. Once they're gone, they're gone. If you want it, get it in. Replay gang, you still got some time. Okay? Everybody still got some time. I appreciate you all. It's been good to see you. I might be over on the gaming channel in a little bit. We'll see how I feel. But if not, I'm sure I'll see you soon. I'm sure we'll have something to talk about very, very soon. Cause these dockets, boy, they be updating quite a bit. So, okay. All right. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. But again, something will come up in the next couple days, and I'm sure I'll see y'all then. In the meantime, stay away from the biscuit headassery. Okay. Find Rodney O. Find Rodney O. Don't harass him. Don't harass him. Please, please stop. Please stop. Just respectfully, please stop doing these nonsensical things in your case. I think people need to tell him that because the level of delusion that is required to keep going down this path of filing bullshit motions, late motions, motions that don't actually exist and aren't really a thing, and this self-righteousness that he thinks that is going to get him a win isn't going to work. And also, pay your filing fee before your attempted lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice by the court. Respectfully, rational people. Thank you all. See you soon.